One thing is certain. These are much more than just a series of random, isolated incidents.
Welcome to the Turtle Power Podcast. Coming up straight from the sewers, this is your audio source for all the news, reviews, and insight into the world of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now grab a slice, tie your mask on tight, and enjoy this episode of
Turtle Power.
That's right. It is the second episode of the Turtle Power Podcast, and I am not alone. I've got two friends with me here, two big Turtle fans just like me. First, I'd like to introduce Alex. Alex, go ahead and say hi.
Holla.
And friend number two is Darby. Go ahead and say hi, Darby.
Why I gotta be number two? I've only known you for like 20 some odd years. I see.
That's true. That's true. Darby and I grew up together back in Southwest Florida, and Alex and I met when I lived
online
in
chat
Gainesville.
board. Yeah, it was a beautiful meeting. I enjoyed it very
Online
much.
chat, huh? That explains a lot.
All right, so I guess we'll so since Darby's got a problem, we'll go ahead and start with Darby. Talk a little bit about yourself. I guess go ahead and just quick intro of yourself.
All right. Hi, my name's Darby. I've known Ryan for over 20 some odd years, which is more than I can remember. I am a Gemini. I grew up in Florida, and I like long walks on the beach. But I also love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is why Ryan chose me first to join him on this podcast.
All right, that's great. Thank you. All right, Alex.
My name's Alex. I've known Ryan for a few years now, and I grew up being a Turtle fan by far. Here just to kind of add a little bit of a mixture as far as ethnicity to the Turtle Power Podcast. I am Cuban, born and raised, so here we go.
Yeah, I think in order to get government funding for this, we needed to have a Spanish person on the show.
That's true.
I cannot comment on
Get-
that. So.
all the internet
and
money.
We're already off the air.
Okay, so here comes the big question that as I promised in episode 1, every single person on the podcast has to say their favorite turtle and why. So, Darby?
No,
Favorite
I'll let
turtle?
Alex go first on this one.
Okay, Alex?
What a gentleman.
I know.
By far, Leonardo. It's not even a question.
Called it. Called it.
Called it. This was
He
talked about.
said that earlier to me when I was talking to him earlier. He's like, you better not say Leonardo.
It's gonna be Leonardo. How can you not pick Leonardo?
No, go ahead. Explain your reasons for Leonardo, and I'll shoot them down later on in my argument.
Well, please shoot them down. The highest skilled fighter out of the four, most tactical out of the group. What is that? What is that? You know, before we even get into this, please just tell me what your favorite turtle is.
No. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
So the main reason why, growing up, he was the first turtle I really connected with. I mean, just his, once again, his skills fighting, but just his leadership, you know, and he was so proud, but very humble at the same time. So I don't know, I just connect with him really well.
Definitely. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for his character, for sure, even though I don't necessarily... I mean, I kind of, and I've said this before, I can relate to all four of the turtles, but that's only because they're all they're all different.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean,
that's actually,
far,
I mean, you know this,
I
that's
think
my
he's the
wife's
best fighter
favorite
of the
too.
group, and there's a reason why he's the leader. I understand that. Just, he wasn't my favorite.
Okay, go ahead, Darby. Your favorite turtle?
Hi, Darby. Yeah, my favorite was Donatello. And I'll explain why. My reasoning for Donatello, and this is why I said to you, Alex, was because I don't know if anybody ever noticed this, but it seemed every single time there was a problem involved, they always went to Donatello to solve it. Donatello built everything. If Donatello wasn't there, they would literally just be living in a sewer. They wouldn't have a sewer with a giant computer with all the the turtle van, the blimp, which by the way probably wasn't the best invention, but still they had it. Every single weapon they had, every single thing was Donatello's invention, and every time there seemed to be this big chaotic thing going on, Donatello was the one they went to when it came to solving it. But there's another thing I like about Donatello. He never really I don't think he wanted to be the leader. He was just happy to be there and to solve everyone's problems, while Leo and Raph were always fighting in every single movie they're in. Who's the one, joking off to the side and actually kind of taking care of Michelangelo? Everyone seems to love Michelangelo, but Donatello was the one who was always there to take care of Michelangelo. And I'll give you an example. First movie, hey Donnie, Wheel of Fortune, dude. Who's the one doing Wheel of Fortune with Mikey?
Very
it's Donatello.
True. Very true.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Leo and Raph are fighting. It's like mom and dad are having an argument, and then so Mikey, as the youngest kid, fight, kitchen. Donatello hangs out with Michelangelo while mom and dad are fighting.
Pork rind?
Pork rind.
I definitely, can connect with Donatello, seeing as how
And if
I
it
am
weren't
an
for
engineer,
Donatello's
so.
tech savviness, they wouldn't have been able to go back to the sewers. Who fixed the car? Casey Jones and Donatello.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Plus, I think Donatello's, combat skills are underestimated. Think about it. In every video game, who do you want to be?
Well, you did have the longest weapon, that's for sure.
Exactly. So there
Very
you go.
true. Well, we'll get into some talk about the video games here in a minute, but
I'm pretty sure he didn't invent katanas either, but that's a whole other.
he definitely didn't invent katanas. All right, so we're gonna officially start off the show with the news, and then get into the topic of the show, which during this episode is going to be essentially an overview of the franchise, kind of talk briefly about a little bit of everything. We'll start at the beginning and kind of work up to now. And then we're going to go into the character spotlight, where every week we discuss a character or maybe more with a little bit more depth. And then we'll end off with the song of the show. So let's get right into the news. All right, so first topic, the big topic this week in the world of the Ninja Turtles was the panel at the MCM Expo in London. And this was a panel that was put on by Nickelodeon, and it was essentially geared towards the new animated series that's debuting this fall. Now, you guys have you guys seen anything about what was discussed?
I've read a little bit about it.
You didn't make it out to London?
Didn't make it out to London. Unfortunately, I have this thing called a job that wouldn't allow me to take time out. But there's a lot of things that I think are debatable that I really don't know how I feel about yet. One of the main things is I was reading that there were in place of the the traditional cowabunga, something that's just synonymous with the TMNT franchise. They're replacing that with Booyakasha.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, I will give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. I believe me, I love cowabunga. They wrote a song about that word, for crying out loud. But it's a new generation. Maybe cowabunga might be a little outdated. I'm willing to give him a chance. I'm gonna give Mikey 2 chances to say Booyakasha to actually pull me over to saying, okay, that's a legit thing that he's allowed to say.
Yeah, it's going to definitely take watching it and hearing him say it in order to sell me. But really, that's going to be the phrase of this gen's TMNT.
Is that a new thing surfers are saying? I don't know. Maybe surfers are saying Booyakasha nowadays, because they used to say cowabunga, and maybe now they're saying Booyakasha. It's a new generation, so maybe they're just also trying to separate themselves from the past ones. I mean, the animation style, the mashup of CGI and anime, which I'm still really curious about, is, I mean, maybe they're trying, I mean, obviously they're trying to go in a different direction with all this new generation, bring up some new stuff. Bebop and Rocksteady are gone.
Yeah.
Which
well,
I'm a little upset about.
To go back to Cowabunga, actually in the 2003 series, that was kind of a running joke where every time Mikey would want to say Cowabunga or something along those lines, usually it would be Raph like punching him in the gut saying, "No, Mikey, stop it." Well, something along those lines. But
and also in the second movie, remember Donatello kept trying to come up with different things to say, and they just kept laughing at him.
Sure, yeah. But it always ends in Cowabunga because that's the best one.
After a fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perestroika? Come on. That was awesome. T-shirts everywhere saying Perestroika. Nobody see it.
One of the things I do love about Donatello, just on a side note, is he did come up with some wonderful things. Bossa Nova. Really? Bossa Nova?
Come on. Definitely. You can't make a shirt that says Bossa Nova on it. That's my next shirt. I'm going to make it. It's going to say Bossa Nova.
Now, what did you guys...
Podcast, Bossa Nova, right under it.
What did you guys think about, the Kraang? So, now, Kraang, obviously, in the original animated series, was a individual being. It was just one Kraang. If you fast forward into the 2003 series, there was the Utroms, which was, I believe, based off of some old comics. But the Utroms were essentially a race of Kraangs. They were actually good guys, though. I mean, there's a whole history. I mean, there's a lot. They played a very big part in the 2003 animated series. But now that the Kraang, they're calling them the Kraang as though they're a species rather than calling them Utroms. So it's always weird because Kraang originally was a certain one, and then you switch to no longer being called Kraang, but being called the Utroms, which is a race. And now, in the third version, the race is now called Kraang. So
as long as they make that weird sound that Kraang would say in the middle of his talks, I'll be happy with it. As long as he just makes that sound, I'll be completely fine.
That is spot on. Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, that was actually really good. That was impressive.
I mean, I can understand, like, they called him Kraang because, I mean, if he's part of his race, but he's the only one in our dimension, it'd be like us going to Dimension X and being like, "Hey, human." It's like, okay, I guess that's my name here is human.
So you think you could essentially assume that in the original series that Kraang was actually a Kraang.
It's a stretch, but I'll take it. I mean,
I don't know. I'd have to.
I'm giving him a lot of chances with this.
Well, you guys remember where he's from, right? Dimension X.
Well, yeah, Dimension X, and I'm curious to see if because I mean in the original '87 series, he remember all the rock soldiers and all that, and they had General Trag, and I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with the Kraangs, or if it's just it's gonna be interesting to see.
For sure.
But also, I mean, I'm curious as to how it's gonna look because I mean, like you said. It talks about how Michelangelo was like, "See, I told you guys," and then the Kraang like bonds to his face, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm picturing like that creature from Alien, like just wrapping around his face. So I mean, I still have to see what it looks like because they're not showing us yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole series right now, I'm still up in the air with it. I mean, from what I've read so far, as far as even how they're. I mean, I guess we're kind of skipping ahead to this, but like they're changing around. I mean, I get the fact that they're making them more teenage, but they're also making April a teenager, and then they're making it so that Donatello has a crush on her. And
first of all,
I can't
had
stand
on April.
I can't. Yes,
except for Raph. Raph was like the only one. Raph saved her and brought her to the apartment and brought her to the sewer, and they all loved her. But or they would watch her on TV, and Mikey would like kiss her while she was on the screen. But Raph like throws the sigh at them when they start saying he likes them. He likes April, and then he'd throw a sigh at Donatello for making the joke.
Now I mean, and we can get into that too eventually someday. But obviously, every single version of the Ninja Turtles is different.
as far
Right.
as what.
It's generational. I mean, that's one true series that really is generational.
Sure.
Touching back to what we've kind of gathered from the expo and about the new series.
Thank you for getting us back on track, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
One of the things I'm personally really excited about, because one of my favorite villains is apparently going to make a cameos on the actual series, is going to be Leatherhead. And,
Yeah.
We'll have some of the older ones like Leatherhead and Baxter. Stockman will be, and then they're also going to have Karai on there.
Yes, Karai, who is essentially Shredder's daughter.
Right.
And she was in TMNT, the movie, and she was also in the 2003 series.
Well, she was also in Turtles Forever too.
Yes, and we will talk about Turtles Forever for sure. That's amazing. I love that movie.
Such a good movie.
All right, so they showed a trailer. I haven't seen it hit the web yet. Hopefully, it will soon. Looking forward to seeing it in action. I mean, for lack of a better term, I'm anticipating to see how the animation is. It's on Nickelodeon. If it's anything like Avatar or Legend of Korra is right now, which I don't know if
No, I'm well aware of that series.
Yeah.
We just can't talk about it right now.
if it's anything like that, I mean,
animation style is
it'll be
similar.
wonderful. I mean, because all three of us, I know, we all loved Avatar, and I'm watching Korra right now. And
As am I.
did you see the one on yesterday?
No, I did not.
Okay, yeah, it's the ending, especially.
Yeah, okay. Should do the best.
It's great. So
If it's anything, as far as animation goes, like either one of those is going to be phenomenal, and they do a lot of sight gag on
yes,
both of
they
those,
do.
so-
They
Which we need.
They
which we
balance it
need
very
in the
well.
series.
They balance it very well between the, the whole, for kids and for adults themes, and everything like that too. So,
Which, I mean, is needed. It goes back to remember when they had the teaser trailer for TMNT where they looked all awesome jumping on the rooftops of New York City and
Sure.
they land and they do their poses and then Mikey just falls into the dumpster. And they're just like, oh.
yeah,
Like, that's what we need.
yeah,
That's one of the things I like about this. It can go from really serious and like awesome to like you're just laughing so hard at the gags that pretty
definitely.
much Michelangelo is providing
Definitely.
usually, but still, like
Definitely.
that's one of the great things about the series is just wow, this is a really great, meaningful
The whole
show.
franchise.
And then, out of
The whole
nowhere.
franchise, yeah, and all the different versions of the Turtles have always kind of had that as a common, where it can be very serious and then it can also be very funny.
Exactly.
So, if listeners want to see some more details or read some more details and actually see some pictures, Cheese Brush and Chris over in the Technodrome forums have posted some more details and pictures, and I'll include a link in the show notes for that.
That's a great name. I'm sorry. This is the first time
Cheese
I'm
Brush.
hearing of this. The Cheese Brush. Wow. I already want to have a conversation with this person.
Well, and I mentioned that in the first episode too, where this podcast is going to be intended for the community, for the Turtles community, and so definitely want to look to have fans, the people on the websites, the ones that are out there and for years have been pushing hard for this series to include them as well. So, all right. So moving on to the second item, there is going to be an auction. I know I mentioned last week about the TMNT #1. I guess not last week, last episode about TMNT 1. It was actually a TMNT 1, and it was also the very first drawing of the Ninja Turtles. At auction, sold for $71,000.
That's just crazy.
That's a lot of money. There's going to be another auction June 19th in South Kensington, London. And this is through Christie's, actually. Yeah, Christie's, like the big
auction.
Yeah. So they're having an auction where they're going to be auctioning off issue 1, which there was 3,000 copies back in '84, and it's also going to have issues 2, 3, and 4 all together, and there's going to be a couple other special limited edition issues included. But it's all going to be signed by Peter and Kevin, and they're expecting somewhere in between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds, which is anywhere from like $3,000 to like $4,600 at auction. So now, if you could actually go online and find retailers that are selling, issue 1, and for anywhere, $5,000 plus, up in that range. So in all actuality, you might be able to get a deal here. So if you're in the South Kensington, London area,
let me just pull that out of my pocket here for you guys.
Yeah.
Pull it out of my wallet.
Yeah.
Take money orders, cashier's checks. Let's do this.
All right.
I think actually comiclink.com has got one up on their site, I believe. So, but anyway, we'll include a link to this story also in the show notes. Item number 3. This was an interesting one that just hit the interwebs.
Pretty excited about this.
Is that
if it actually comes true?
Vanilla Ice, yes, the Iceman. Hinted that
we're gonna get sued now because you called him the Iceman. But okay, go ahead.
We could be talking about a number of people. I don't know what you're talking
about. He's hinting at possible involvement in the upcoming Ninja Turtles movie. Now, of course, this is the much debated upcoming live action movie reboot that is being headed by the Michael Bay's production company. We'll get into all of that, definitely.
We definitely need to get into that. But, okay.
But do we have enough time? I don't think so.
I mean, we could probably do an entire show about that upcoming movie. But anyway, he mentions that he was doing some promotion for That's My Boy, which is the new Adam Sandler movie that he's in. I've been waiting to see a trailer that included him, and I just saw it for the first time. I've been seeing other trailers, but none including Vanilla Ice. But I just saw one where he's in a car with Adam Sandler, and so I finally got to see him in the movie. Because I heard that he was going to be in this movie, and I want to say I also heard that I don't know. I might screw that up. I might need to double check my facts here. But well, what do you guys think about Vanilla Ice? I mean, his Ninja Turtles 2 scene. I mean, it was a product of the times.
Really
and that song is just. I love that song.
If I may, I definitely remember a time in elementary school seeing a talent show where our host Ryan Hurley was up on stage actually singing and dancing to this song. He memorized the dance and he memorized the lyrics and he did it up on stage. And he actually got a pretty sound applause, if I remember correctly. Good times.
That's a wonderful footnote, and that will be one that I will continue. I'm going to write down because that's definitely going to come up as a.
You better, because you're going to have to use it against them later. Exactly.
Wow.
But for Vanilla Ice, now here's the thing: Vanilla Ice back in the day was a lot more, I'm going to say, kid friendly than he is now. Back in the day, he was a Mattel Barbie doll, if I remember correctly. He was. He was a lot more innocent. Even though Ice Ice Baby wasn't the most innocent songs if you actually listen to the lyrics of it. But nowadays, he always seems to talk about how he regrets being a sellout and how he regrets being on that path. I mean, is he writing a song? Is he doing a rap song? Is he like, what is he doing exactly?
Well, he might be doing some construction on the set. I don't know if you guys have seen his show.
So maybe that's what he's doing, and he's just randomly got, when they don't edit a scene well enough, and you accidentally catch like somebody in the movie crew that's not an actor, like off to the side. Maybe that's the trailer he was in that you caught.
Maybe in this movie, I mean, he's literally in the scene. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen his show. I think it's on DIY Network, where he essentially flips houses, but to like the nth degree. He does like multi-million-dollar homes. Where he buys them like foreclosed, and then
he's a family guy now. I think him doing this is going to be just fine.
Yeah,
and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm hoping he doesn't do the same song. I don't know how they're going to incorporate him in the movie if they do at all. But that should definitely be interesting. And I don't think it's going to be a problem as far as being family friendly. I know he's not the when he came up with his rock and heavy metal version of Ice Ice Baby, and that whole album was just, kid friendly is one word for it, but or not being kid friendly.
Well, I mean, I'm not a Vanilla Ice expert, but he certainly went through some changes over the years. I think he went through some tough times of trying to figure out where he fit in as far as pop culture, and
he was, he's like Metalhead, man. He was originally intended to be evil, and then Donatello fixed him, and then
Donatello once again, the best of the Turtles. Who knows?
Fine.
Yep. All right. Yep. Let's go put that out.
I mean, like nowadays, if he still goes to concerts, but I mean, he knows what his fan base is. He knows his fans want to hear Ice Ice Baby, the original. And he also knows his fans want to hear Ninja Rap. And he does it for him, and he's he says that he's a big fan of the Turtles, and he still is. So I
remember being a little too it was cool when we were really young to watch that scene where the Turtles were dancing and fighting at the same time,
right?
But it's also one of those things where you get older and you're just like, I can't believe they actually did something like that.
Yeah.
You can tell Michelangelo was obviously the best dancer because they put him right up front center of every single dancing shot. It's him. Like I'm telling you, go back, watch Ninja Turtles 2. When all four of them are dancing at the same time, like choreographed and everything, Michelangelo is front and center every single time.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. I mean, obviously not a whole lot of info has come out about this movie, except for a couple of little tidbits, but obviously one made a much larger splash than others. But we'll get into the discussion at a later date and time. Last item on the news that we have for this episode is that finally, Season 10 of the original animated series is coming to DVD, scheduled for August 14th. And I'm excited. I was, with the whole transition of the franchise from Mirage to Viacom/Nickelodeon, I was really afraid that they were not going to release this season and that I would have every season except for the last one. But I'm just really thankful that they're going to get this out.
When is that coming out, by the way?
August 14th. August 14th. Right. Is there any word? I don't think I've heard anything about them releasing an entire series. I think you're going to have to buy them all separately. But I mean, I have been, so I'm not going to be bummed about that. But I mean, that would be nice for fans to be able to buy the entire series in one big set. But I'm stoked. I mean, it's, for me, watching the original series is not. I mean, it's not the same as it was when I was little. I mean, when you watch Turtles Forever and you
see just how different the two series were.
Yes. And you're like, oh my God. And you watch the original series, you watch this original series on DVD, and it is that way.
Well, to be fair to Alex, I'm going to say right now, when I watched Turtles Forever, I thought they didn't do the original Leonardo justice, because I remember Leonardo being more serious and less cartoony.
Yep.
The original, from the one we grew up with, and then well, first of all, they didn't even get the original Leonardo to come back and do the voice, but at least he didn't sound like him at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I remember Leonardo being far more serious in the actual series than he was in Turtles Forever.
He was, and I agree with you 100%. As far as the voice actor, I'm not 100% sure that they used the right one either, and that was kind of a bummer, because I really wasn't a big fan of of whatever voice actor it was. But he was far more serious in the original series. The Turtles Forever, I don't know, which is one of the reasons I don't know how I feel about the new series still yet. I mean, we don't know what it looks like yet, so I guess we can't really comment too much on it. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping they don't go too cartoony with it.
Well, I mean, the guy voicing Leonardo is going to be pretty cartoony for you in the new series.
Who's doing the voice?
Jason Biggs.
Jason Biggs is doing the voice. This is
From
news to me.
Jason Biggs.
From American Pie.
Yes, from American Pie is going to voice Leonardo. Ryan, you will be happy to hear that Rudy is voicing Raphael.
Yes, this I know.
Yes, and who's voicing Donatello? The guy who used to voice Raphael,
Yeah, that's
Rob Paulson.
Rob Paulson. Now, Rob Paulson actually has a podcast, a very good podcast that he hosts. Gosh, I think they come out every week. It's called Talkin Tunes, and he has a lot of great guests on there. He actually had Mark Hamill on there just a couple of episodes ago. If not,
this just adds to Donatello's awesomeness, is that the guy that voiced Ryan's favorite turtle growing up is now voicing my favorite turtle now.
Thanks.
Oh, Ryan's favorite turtle, well, isn't really, I mean, it's Raphael. There's not really much to be favored.
I know, right? It seems every single time there's a conflict amongst the turtles,
geez.
Raphael's always at the center of it.
Absolutely.
Every single time. And then he's just going to, realize that he's wrong, and he's going to get back with the turtles.
Hey, you know what?
Be fighting with them again, and then a week later, he's going to start crap with Leo about being the leader again. And yada yada yada.
All I gotta say is
he seceded. He seceded to Leo's leadership in both the TMNT movie and CGI, and then in the actual comic book series.
Yeah.
Because in the comic book series, in the original movie was Raphael who ended up getting jumped by the Foot Clan, etc. In the comic book series, it was Leonardo who got jumped.
Yes.
And then eventually started healing up. They ended up getting into a battle, to a fight. Raphael beat Leonardo, threw him through a wall, which, let's be honest, would never really happen. But
fighting words.
And it did. But then Raphael goes off on this, typical Raphael emotional roller coaster, and goes out and tries to fight, Shredder by himself. And who comes to save the day and save Raphael's bleep? Leonardo.
To be fair, and I will say this, in the TMNT scene where they are fighting, when Raphael is fighting Leonardo.
That's an epic scene, by the way.
Two things about that epic scene. One.
Faulty weaponry?
No. It's not faulty weaponry. I honestly believe Leo is holding back against Raph in that scene. When he doesn't think it's Raphael, when he thinks it's just, the Night Stalker, and then he uppercuts him out of nowhere, he owns Raph until he finds out that it's Raph. Then he starts taking it easy on Raph because it's his brother. But Raph, being the heartless guy that he is, just goes crazy on Leo, and that's what happens. Two, my favorite line Leo ever mutters is in that scene where he just looks right at Raph and says, "I'm better than you." I just, when he said that was so not Leonardo for me. And I was just like,
I got chills.
Exactly. And I went, you know what? I think I can actually like Leonardo now. Growing up, I never liked Leonardo. Never liked him growing up. All the Ninja Turtles want to have fun, and Leo's like, "No, guys, we can't." And it's like, but they want to. When you're a little kid, you just want to watch them. The buzzkill that comes in and goes, "No, guys, we actually have to train and do this stuff," and that's great. But when you're a little kid, you really just want to see them have fun.
Yeah.
But when Leo looked right at Raph and said, "I'm better than you," I went, "You know what? I can like Leo now." I honestly believe Leo was taking it easy on Raph in that fight because he owned Raph until he found out it was Raph behind the mask.
Absolutely. He held back, and then there was faulty weaponry, but, I'll say it again.
I know, right? It's one of those sais more powerful than the katanas.
You know what? I know you guys are having fun here bashing on Raph, but who won the fight? That's all I got to say.
Who won the fight? I'm telling you, Leo won the fight. Then he found out it was Raph, and then he took it easy on Raph. Because that's his brother. He doesn't let his emotions get the best of him like Raphael does.
Exactly. That's why he's the leader.
Exactly.
Unappointed leader, but leader.
Hey, and all I've got to say to rebuke that is Raphael. He's the leader of the group transformed from the known by the nuclear group.
I knew it. I was like, use our Turtle Power theme song against us in an argument, I swear.
Hey, if the shoe fits, that's okay. That's all I got to say about that.
The shoe fits. Yeah, no, it's funny because, like you said, originally he was the leader, but there's a reason why he's not anymore.
All right, so we should get back on track here. This is great. This is exactly what I wanted to have between. I knew bringing you two on the show would be fuel for the fire for sure. So, all right, so that's all the news that we have for this episode. Moving into the topic of the show, we're going to kind of go over the entire franchise a little bit.
Just the entire franchise?
That should only take about, I don't know, 40 hours.
This our entire podcast supposed to be about the entire franchise. I mean, if we go over it right now, that's a pretty short run for us.
Right. I mean, we won't go over the entire. We're just gonna touch on a little bit of of all the different bits and pieces of the Turtles franchise because, as you said, I mean, it would take forever. There's so much that has. I guess, come from this franchise over the past, 28 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out in 1984. That's the year I was born. So, hey, that's easy for me to remember how long.
Me too. All right.
I'm an 82 guy, so I mean, obviously I wasn't reading the comics at 2 years old. But
see, unlike Ryan, our first words could have been cowabunga. You don't know.
Very true. Very true.
Booyakasha.
Booyakasha.
Booyakasha. That is fun to say. I'll give him credit. That is fun to say.
It can be. I'll give it a shot.
Exactly. So let's start at the beginning. The creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Peter Laird, Kevin Eastman. I mean, there's been lots of, documentary type material that's been created about the creation of the Turtles and how it occurred. Going from just the idea of this would be funny to make turtles that are ninjas and kind of created a story from that idea and then that morphing into I've heard several sites talk about how the Turtles franchise, at least at the beginning, was kind of spoofing on different other franchises, but eventually it definitely caught its own wind and really took off for a lot of people from the original animated series. But it did start with the original comic book. As we mentioned, it was debuted in 1984 with a limited print run of 3,000 copies, and if you have one of those, that's a nice little investment.
Much darker series than the series we grew up with, which was the Playmates Playmate Toys.
Yes. Now
series.
a lot of people, a lot of people don't realize that the Playmates toys were based off of the comic. They came out before the show, and there were a lot of fake
red bandanas.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they
No, I know in the comics, but he's talking about the toys that came out before the show.
Yeah. Well, they had
They
a lot of characters in toy form that weren't ever in the show or vice versa even. And they kind of merged together eventually, but to where they started making different characters that were in the series that that weren't in the original comics. So so that was, I guess, that was kind of the order of operations. Was you had the comic, you had the toys, then you had the animated series, the original animated series, and that's really where it took off. I mean, I can assume for all three of us that that's really where our first introduction to the franchise came.
And then you just made toys that had nothing to do with the cartoons. Like, hey, let's throw spacesuits on them, even though they've never been into space for each turtle. We could sell that. Or, let's make them all cavemen, even though they were never cavemen, and we could totally sell that. And you know what? They could, because I have every single one of those.
I do too. Donatello as a spy, as an undercover agent.
Exactly.
The pizza shooters. I love the pizza shooters.
Oh my god, the pizza shooters were so amazing. I remember shooting Ryan with those. Like we didn't even put them in the figures. We just shot each other with the pizza shooters.
I still have my party wagon. The original one. They actually, for the 25th anniversary, they re-released the party wagon. You could buy it again at Toys R Us and whatever.
Oh, that upsets me.
So do you guys remember? Did you see the toys first, or did you see the series first?
I saw the series first. I remember getting really into the series, but the toys only helped. Because, the series was what made me want the toys. And then, like I said, they would do things that made no sense whatsoever on the show. But, the toys they made never happened in the show. Ryan, the aerospace mechanical engineer, I remember growing up, your favorite toy that you had was the astronaut Raphael.
Yep.
Because you wanted to be an astronaut.
I actually
Raphael was your favorite. That was your favorite one growing up.
Yeah, well, several years ago, I actually rebought that, so I have that mint on card.
So it was stuff like that got me into the toys. No matter what, if you liked cowboys and you liked the Ninja Turtles, guess what? They actually had cowboy Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
They touched on all genres, every single genre you could possibly think of.
There was Star Trek Ninja Turtles.
Exactly. I'm surprised they never.
There was no Star Wars ones though.
Lucas probably wouldn't let them pull that off.
No.
even though they both shared the same park in Disney for a few years,
yes,
Lucas would never let them pull that off.
Yeah. What about you, Alex?
Side note on that, real quick: Leonardo would destroy Luke Skywalker any day, but
he wouldn't. Oh my God.
You give it a fair fight, and you give them both lightsabers, and Leonardo would destroy Luke Skywalker.
No.
You would destroy Luke Skywalker.
You can have all the ninjutsu you want. If I have the Force, you're done. You're done. I have the Force. I have the Force.
Oh, don't get Darby started on the Force.
If you do a flying, jumping, spinning back, the most epic flying kick you can do towards me, guess what? I just pushed you away with the Force.
He wouldn't even see him coming. The master of stealth, Leonardo, he would never even see him coming.
And anyway. What? It's called the Jedi mind trick. You don't even know.
Oh, jeez.
It doesn't work on turtles. Sorry. Your Jedi tricks don't work on me.
Well, in the Clone Wars, that happens a lot, so I wouldn't be too surprised. Alex?
If Anakin's old boss, whose name escapes me right now, Ryan, Anakin's old
Watto?
boss. Guado. If Watto doesn't fall for the Jedi mind trick, then I'm pretty sure Leo won't either.
There you go.
I'd put Leo's mind ahead of Watto's.
There you go.
But much like I think all of us, the series is what kickstarted everything for me. And then you're right. The action figures, all the toys just enhanced it threefolds. I mean, you had them in your house, and it's not even just the action figures themselves, but I mean, I had a full belt with my katanas. I had the full getup, the bandanas. It was awesome.
Now, my favorite toy, because I remember this, me and Ryan and a few of our other friends growing up had this toy, and it was great because it doesn't work in real life, but we still use it anyway, was the TurtleCom toy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
there's a little shell.
Toy, you could not communicate with your friends if they had if they had a TurtleCom toy like you. But you know what? You still ran to the other side of the room, or the other side of the house, and pretended that you could actually speak to each other.
Didn't it use like Morse code or something?
You could use Morse code on it, which every 7-year-old knows. Duh. But, it was easy because I would just take the little flip book pictures they give you, and I'd put Raphael's picture right in the little thing right there. So every time I flipped it open, I'd see Raphael. Yeah. Ryan did the same thing with Donatello, and guess what? Suddenly me and Ryan are talking to each other through Morse code, because once again, every 7-year-old knows Morse code.
Yeah. It was the same thing with me. Started with the series. It's weird. My first, I know I had seen it beforehand, but for some reason I was over at another friend's house back home, and his family was well off, not so much like mine. I mean, for me, getting a toy was like a big deal. He was spoiled.
Yes, he was.
This guy had. I mean, he had on VHS like the original, because what they used to come out with like a couple episodes at a time on VHS.
Yeah, through Pizza Hut.
Well, they had the Pizza Hut ones, yep. And he had like all these episodes on, and I when I saw them, I knew what they were, but the fact that he actually had them in his house already was just mind-boggling, because like I don't even think we had a VHS at the time. So just the idea that he could watch Ninja Turtles whenever he wanted was just so mind-boggling.
And that's why Ryan.
But I knew what they were right away. So it wasn't like that was my first ever time I had seen the Ninja Turtles. But for some reason, that's my earliest memory of the series. But yeah, now I'm the same way. Now I've got to like have every single one. So for me, I mean, I guess I don't know. It's not an excuse, but I like to. I'm collecting them because I want to make sure that, whenever I have kids, that they will be able to have the opportunity to watch the series. Because I watched it and I grew up and I turned out okay. So, and you guys as well.
You know what I always thought was funny about the series too, because I noticed this as a little kid, was when they would mess up in the show and suddenly Raphael's voice was coming out of Michelangelo, or Donatello was talking his bandana.
Oh yeah, the bandanas would be different, or the.
Yeah, it would flash from like blue to purple in like 2 seconds. Like, wait, Leo's talking, Donnie's voice is coming out, and he has a D on his belt. What is going on here? Like, that was always one of my favorite things from the animated show, was like, they saw it, but whatever, they're little kids.
Yeah. So, that series ran, like I said, for 10 seasons, ran until 96. I guess we'll just, instead of going year by year, maybe we'll go topic by topic. The next television series after the original animated series was the live action series, Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. Now, people, I don't know if you know this, you can actually watch these episodes on Netflix streaming.
I don't know if you know this, but there was a girl Ninja Turtle in that series, and that just made perfect sense that she had boobs.
Venus de Milo, the light blue. You'd think pink, right? That would have made more sense.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, another blue. Yeah.
She had boobs. She was a reptile with boobs. Like, that was the only way you could distinguish a female turtle from a male turtle. Venus de Milo was like the worst thing to ever happen to the Ninja Turtle series. Name something better. I challenge you, like in future ones, to come up with something. Like, hey, Darby, by the way, this thing was worse than Venus de Milo. But Venus de Milo, first of all, Venus de Milo was a girl. Second of all, claimed to be their sister. Third of all, apparently made it where the Ninja Turtles were not brothers.
Yeah.
Like,
really?
Leo says to Venus de Milo, because apparently the big love interest is like Leo and Raph and Venus, like this love triangle. But like, Leo says, we're not brothers. We were just raised together as if we were brothers. And it's like, you just took away everything when you said they weren't brothers. For the sake of...
That whole series was awful. Venus de Milo is I mean, if anything, I mean, Peter Laird disavowed her. Like, Peter Laird doesn't even talk about Venus de Milo.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I challenge you to come up with something worse than Venus de Milo that ever happened to the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, it's hard to watch. It is.
Like, I would rather have Donatello fall in love with Irma than Venus de Milo. like
Irma,
really.
that's great.
Yeah, you like that reference? Irma?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Pulled that one out. Yeah. Well, I mean, we weren't the only ones that thought that this was questionable, since it only lasted one season.
It's all it took.
It's all it took. Yeah. Strange connection, though. That I guess maybe the most interesting part about this series, for me personally, I thought one of the most interesting parts was the fact that these turtles actually made an appearance with the Power Rangers in their series. So
Power Rangers in space.
How is that the least bit, like, redeeming?
Well, I mean, just because at the time Power Rangers were kind of
not.
like the next Ninja Turtles at the time. They were kind of like the ones that were kind of, trying to take.
I know, Ryan. You and I loved them growing up too. I'm not ashamed to admit it, but still, like, to combine those two was just like a sham.
Right.
You know it.
Yeah,
it was a last. It was like one final attempt to make the series something
viable or something.
Yeah, and it failed miserably.
Yeah. Well, it was Saban. I don't know.
Saban.
Yeah.
I think it's Saban. No, it's Saban. It's
Saban. So
Saban.
yeah, that was they were the production company for the Next Mutation. So, and they're the ones that
Milo was like 9 out of the 10 nails in the coffin, and then the Power Rangers were that 10th one. Like, this show never existed. Put it in the crate and put it in the giant warehouse at the end of Indiana Jones. This show never happened.
Nice. All right, so let's move on.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the second animated series, which this personally for me brought me back into the franchise. I loved this series, and I was crushed when they decided to no longer pursue it. And essentially, however, it did end with Turtles Forever, which they definitely went out with a bang. This was the 2003 animated series. The 4Kids entertainment series. It was originally on Fox in the morning, Saturday mornings.
Also known as the series where they lost their pupils for some reason.
Well, it had a different look, right? They looked, I'd say they looked more humanoid. They looked more, I mean, the whole animation was different, but
right.
As far as kicking it up a notch, the comparison to the original series, I mean, they're besides the fact that there was 4 turtles and they wore masks and there was a Splinter and an April and a Casey Jones. I mean, there wasn't much. It totally blew up the.
I did like what because you just mentioned Casey Jones. I did like what they did with Casey Jones. Like,
it's
in the original series
so
that we grew up with. He was a brainless,
Yeah.
musclehead who monosyllabic like person. He only grunted and said very little things of interest. But then in this series was when they really gave him a personality, probably because they gave him one in the movies too, and he had one in the comics.
For sure.
So this was Casey Jones really, that was one of the best things to me about this, was they made Casey Jones this viable character and this great sort of companion for Raph to take all his anger out of him when he first met him. Because once again, in this series, as in all series, Raphael kind of sucks.
Oh, no.
Is kind of the one that goes off on his own and causes conflict between the brothers.
I mean,
but he was a good balance for Raphael in this series, and
definitely.
And he was in the comic book series too, so it was
right.
really nice to see that
they definitely
that kind of relationship built between those two.
Mm-hmm.
In the series.
They definitely expanded upon that relationship that Raph and Casey shared together, and also kind of played up the relationship between Casey and April too. Actually, what I have to definitely bring up is, for me, what really hit me that, wow, this isn't the same Ninja Turtles. The original series is so funny because the original animated series, when it was out, there was so much just anger and by parents and parental groups that how the violence and everything with the original series.
Exactly.
And in the UK it was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and how eventually Michelangelo wasn't allowed to have nunchucks anymore. He had to have a grappling hook.
He had a grappling hook.
In the 2003 series, Leonardo cuts off Shredder's head. I mean,
I know.
He slices it off.
And one of the many moments
in fire,
the redeeming qualities of Leonardo.
Once again, he took out Shredder. Come on.
It was just like
he didn't cut off his head because it's revealed that he's a neutron, but that's not the point. The point is, was that
spoilers, by the way?
Huh?
Goodness gracious!
But when Leo did that was just. I remember the past Ninja Turtles. In the past series, all four of them couldn't even beat Shredder.
No.
All four of them at once couldn't beat Shredder. But then, Leo, just in that series,
yeah,
like you said, like Alex said, the supreme fighter. I'm not saying he wasn't the best fighter of the group. I never once denied that. I'm just saying Donatello always came up with the plans.
He was a mastermind. He was the mind behind the Turtles.
Michael, and you know what? And the proof is even in this series that we're talking about right now, when Michelangelo introduces Donatello as the go-to turtle.
Yeah.
When coming up with the plan, he's like, "Let me introduce you to our go-to turtle, Donatello." And Donatello's like, "Yeah, I'm awesome. I know." Fine.
One thing that I really also liked about this series is that it always kept you guessing as far as the Shredder. Every time you thought you knew who the Shredder was, by the next season he was totally different. First you thought Shredder was human, then you learned he was spoiler, I guess, I don't know, whatever, but
I already said it.
Yeah, he was a neutron, and it actually expands so much. Goes back in history, and that the Orokusaki and how he became the Shredder, and the Shredder's actually not just Orokusaki, but it's actually a character that's been played out over history, and exactly. it gets real deep.
But it's also too, in the first series, you never saw Shredder outside of his Shredder gear. Maybe he took his mask off once, and everybody freaked out because you actually saw the Shredder's face for the first time. But in this series, he would hang out outside of his gear all the time.
Yep.
He'd be sitting there meditating in his room, and then talking to the purple dragons, and he'd just be there.
Yep.
He'd have his Shredder glove off, but it wasn't uncommon for him to just hang out in his regular clothes instead of his Shredder gear.
Yep.
So that was a big change too.
Definitely.
You saw him a lot more outside of that outfit that he had.
Then he still didn't look less menacing to me. I was still scared of him. It was so good, and you can get, I believe the whole series is available on DVD.
And as Turtles Forever even showed us, this Shredder, far more evil and diabolical than the one we grew up with.
Yes, exactly.
The whole series was much just darker than the one we grew up with, which was really nice to see.
Ain't your mama's Ninja Turtles.
No, it is not.
So good. Obviously, I would think anybody listening to this podcast has seen these, but and we'll go into more depth in all these topics through various episodes. We'll kind of spend this topic of the episode to kind of go into more depth in all these different topics. But so the
I guess the last animated series or the next animated series. We already talked about it. That's debuting this fall from Nickelodeon. Anything else that you guys want to say about it? I mean, we kind of already discussed it. I mean, we're all looking forward
I'm pretty
to.
excited about the new weaponry that Donatello and Michelangelo are using.
I was just about to mention that too. I'm just glad they didn't give Michelangelo a grappling hook. They actually gave him like actual weapons to use this time.
Yeah. Now it's very interesting that because when the first pictures came out with the new weapons, I was like, oh, that's some stuff right there.
It's serious stuff.
I know, right? That's like worse than because, like Ryan, you were talking about how, oh my God, the original series we watched was so violent. Now they just gave even, and then they took
the two
they made
least deadly weapons
hook.
And made them more deadly.
Yes, exactly. They took the bow staff and the nunchucks, which. Yeah, if kids played with, they'd probably hurt themselves with a little bump
Those
on
weapons
the head.
don't have blades? Add blades.
Exactly. How do we do this? Well, let's give them blades. Like,
Amazing.
Ryan and I are not surviving past the age of 10 if we're growing up with these Ninja Turtles. It's just not happening.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I'll be waiting to see what comes out of it. I guess we should mention quickly that there has been a very brief 2-episode anime series that was made. I haven't seen anything of it besides little clips on YouTube, but the same thing kind of for you guys, just little bits and pieces. I mean, it's anime, right?
Yeah.
I do like actually, because it's funny, because you remember how you mentioned how, it's going to have it could have the same look as Avatar, and they actually brought in Mae Whitman, who was the voice of Katara in the first Avatar show, to be the voice of April.
Ah.
So I think that's interesting because there's a little tie-in there.
Look at you. Very
I know.
Nice.
You think I don't do research? Come on, man.
Impressive. Well done.
Yeah, no, they brought in Mae Whitman, the voice of Katara, to be April O'Neil, which kind of fits in because, like you said, they're making her a teenager, which
right.
I don't know how I feel about just yet. Let's hope that Casey Jones isn't a grown man and April O'Neil's a teenager. Let's just hope that's not happening right now.
Yeah.
That'd be an odd love interest.
They already said Casey O'Neil. Casey Jones isn't Casey O'Neil. Casey Jones isn't showing up until the second season anyway.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
So.
But I mean, I am curious to see. I like how they did that because you brought up Avatar being a way for the show could look, and here is somebody from Avatar being the voice of one of the main characters on the show.
There you go.
And they actually have. I mean, Jason Biggs and Sean Astin, like, they're not the biggest names in Hollywood, but I mean, I think that's pretty cool that they got guys like that to be in this show. It makes it a little bit more mainstream, a little bit that. When the Ninja Turtles first came out, you couldn't get people to be the voice actors on the show except for Uncle Phil.
Very true. Very true.
Now you got Cleveland Jr. voicing the Shredder, so that should be interesting.
Oh, man. Look at you. All kinds of name dropping around here.
I know, right?
Yeah. It'll be interesting for sure. So I guess let's move out of the animated series and move into we already discussed the little bits and pieces already, but the film series, the original Ninja Turtles film came out 1990.
Like an entire week talking about each movie.
Yeah, I mean we should probably try to be careful with our time here. We've been on for
right now
a little over an hour already, but the original movie for me, it was obviously different from the animated series, but I could tell that. But for some reason, it still fit, and I watched this movie daily. I mean, I would come home from school, put the movie in, and watch it daily.
This was after Ryan got the VHS, apparently.
Yeah, well, yes. This was 1990, so this was a few years. I mean, that's when it came out, and then it came out.
I it was 91, but I could be wrong.
The VHS, it probably came out the next year. Yeah. October 4th, 1990. That's when it originally came out on VHS. So.
Yeah, you didn't get it until 1991. VHS tape too.
Yeah. So I mean, it was. I would be able to just literally. This was the first movie I was ever able to do this. Just literally just quote
Watch it
the
every day.
entire movie. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Even though I was probably too young to really understand a lot of the stuff that was going on.
Oh, yeah.
What about you guys?
I mean, it's by far my favorite feature film. I watched it daily. I can't watch it now without having to order in pizza for whatever reason.
Sure.
But
Exactly. I wish I had the Ninja Ginsu to cut it up for me.
Turbo Ginsu. Yeah, that whole movie. So many great quotes from that movie. So I mean, it just fit. You're right. It didn't follow the comic book series. Didn't follow the animated series. It was its own thing, but they executed it so well. And we just didn't care anyway. It was the Turtles. We didn't care.
Exactly.
We were kids.
Right.
It was whatever. They were there. We didn't care. It's not like we followed the storyline when we were kids. We just watched the episodes.
Also, though, I don't think you could make a movie. You wouldn't make the movie that way, the way they did back then, today. Today, you would use technology and do CGI or something. Whereas back then, like Jim Henson's Muppet Shop had to create actual Ninja Turtles. You know, they had to put on these suits. They had to put on these very elaborate heads.
Yeah.
Where the eyes moved and the mouths moved in unison with what the actor was saying, even though the actor in the suit wasn't ever really talking at all. And that's an interesting thing to me, is that I think it's better that it was made way back then, because to me it makes them more realistic, that
It's
even
gritty.
though they were puppets, you know they're not CGI. And to me, that was a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard so many people talk about this movie being one of the best, audio animatronic actor, for lack of a better term, movies.
And the big actor, the big voice actor, Corey Feldman. Who did he voice in that first movie?
Yes,
Yeah, that's right.
Donatello.
That's right.
Very true.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not proud that it was Corey Feldman. I'm just proud that it was like the big name actor who was apparently Corey Feldman. Voiced Donatello for the first and third movie.
Now, interesting little tidbit is obviously Jim Henson's worked, his
Nova.
Creature Shop worked with this movie. Kevin Clash, who is Elmo. I mean, that's probably his most famous work, and there's a great
he is a
documentary.
Big man. He is not a guy that you would think would voice Elmo. He is.
Yeah.
He's built like a linebacker.
You would have to be, if you're voicing Elmo, you have to be that.
All
big.
I'm saying is, if I saw him in an alleyway in the middle of the night, I'd probably walk to the other side of the street.
It's just like a guy named Sue. Like, a guy named Sue is better be big. Like, you don't want to mess with a guy named Sue.
Exactly. I mean, I guess, in order to get away with voicing Elmo like he does, you would have to be pretty strong and intimidating.
Well,
So anyway, sorry, Ryan, I cut you off there.
It's all right. It's all right. He worked with Jim Henson back at this time, and he is the voice and also the puppeteer, I believe, for Splinter. So, and it was on both the first and second movie. So, I mean, you could kind of make a case for that. That in fact, he's probably the most famous person in this movie.
Yeah, but not back then.
No, not at the time. No, for sure.
Which I'm going to bring up a point when we talk about the second movie, though. That I just remember.
We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead. We'll go into it now.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the puppeteers and everything. How impressive is it that the guys in that outfit were actually willing or actually able to pull off multiple back handsprings in a row?
Oh, for sure.
In the opening of Ninja Turtles 2, 10 flips now. And then they did it, except for Michelangelo, who cheated because he's Michelangelo. He's funny. But they're doing these, acrobatic stuff, especially the back handsprings, which I can barely do without a mask on and a giant heavy rubber suit.
Definitely impressive, no doubt about it.
I know. Yeah, and that's just another thing. I just really like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I also like the Ninja Turtles, too, that they had a different voice actor for Donatello, because let's face it, Donatello really came out of his shell in the second movie.
Nice.
Hey, in the opening fight scene, who stole the show in the opening fight scene. It was Michelangelo and Donatello joking around. It was it when Donatello pretended to be the doll that goes back and forth. It's classic.
That is classic, no doubt about it. The interesting point about this movie is that it came out in '91. I mean, a year in between 1 and 2. That doesn't happen anymore.
Different.
Yeah.
That does not happen anymore. And for having, and the second movie had, their budget was $25 million. The original film was 13.5, so nice bump in budget, and it was just amazing that they were able to put together that good of a movie in a year.
And the thing is too, like the Ninja Turtles looked completely different, so they had to have come out with completely different outfits and heads to make that movie.
Yep.
And they still were able to pull it off as well as they did.
They pulled it off well enough to make a nice little chunk of change on it too.
I know. Right?
Absolutely.
I'm sure what was the budget, Ryan, of the second movie?
Second one was $25 million. It made 78.6.
Well, I'm sure 15 million of that went to Vanilla Ice. So it really takes $10 million to actually make the movie.
Well, if we ever get Vanilla Ice onto the show, we can ask him how much money he made off of.
I just want to point out, in the first movie and in the second movie, who's the one that goes off on his own and leads the Ninja Turtles into a trap because he gets captured?
Hey, story. You gotta have somebody to push the story, man.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Kevin Nash made some money on that one too.
Yeah, so Kevin Nash, Diesel,
Super Shredder.
Yes, he plays Super Shredder.
He showed up for 5 seconds, destroyed a pier, and got paid. Thank you very much.
Actually, because he came back to WWE earlier, just a couple months ago, and had a match, and CM Punk, the WWE champion, actually made light of the fact that he was Super Shredder. In fact, calling him Super Shredder at one point, and I definitely had a mark out moment at that point. So,
but it really bothered me. I felt it was kind of a letdown where they had Super Shredder. It's almost like they ran out of time or ran out of film, because here is this mega epic villain in ultra epic form who is just really powerful and really intimidating, and the Turtles did nothing to defeat him. He just destroyed the pier, killed him. It was really stupid and anticlimactic to me that was it.
Yeah.
Like, they could have had this great... I mean, they had trouble fighting the Shredder. Remember in the first movie? The Shredder took all 4 of them on at once.
Yep.
And it took Splinter via nunchuck to take out the Shredder, and then...
Exactly. Well, Splinter is just on a completely different level of the Ninja Turtles when it comes to fighting.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into that later. But imagine a fight with the Super Shredder for the Turtles. Like, it was cool back then when I saw it as a much younger kid. But I watch it now, and I'm kind of upset that there wasn't this epic battle between the Ninja Turtles and a Super Shredder. It's just Super Shredder was so stupid that he, did that.
Super Shredder's in the Turtles in Time video game longer than he's in the movie.
Was that fight too, by the way,
Yeah.
It was just Super Shredder. It was basically Shredder on roids, man.
Yeah.
That's all it was. I mean, have you seen Ben Affleck's Roid Rage? It was just like that.
But I was always disappointed. And by the way, who defeated Shredder in his normal form? Oh, it was Donatello and Michelangelo with the amplifier. Just saying. Wasn't Leo or Raph, it was Donatello.
I'd like to make a point that the only person to actually make contact in the very first film was Leo when he cut Shredder on the side of the arm.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's true.
I feel like this will be a whole thing where we just talk about why our favorite turtle is the best one. And the other
I have that feeling as well.
All
right, so let's move on to the third Ninja Turtles movie. This one came out in '93, so they actually had an extra year to make this one. But this one is, I think, probably at the bottom of the list for most fans.
I will
unless
give
they're
Leo credit. He is the one who can ride a horse in ancient Japan, standing on it instead of sitting.
Thanks.
Donatello calls him out on it. I'll give Leo credit on that one. And for once, it isn't Raphael going off by himself and getting into trouble and luring the turtles into a trap.
Right.
For once.
Yep. This one, as far as being a success in the box office, it was. I mean, budget was $21 million. It made $42. I mean, it definitely made money, but I think that was more just writing on the name more than anything. I mean, there's some good parts to it for sure. I mean, the connection of having the Casey Jones ancestor in ancient Japan was interesting.
Or just the whole connection of feudal Japan with the Ninja Turtle.
Right.
I mean, was a nice touch.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I think it may have been maybe just too slapsticky. I mean, I kind of got that feeling like it was, at that point, the animated series was, actually approaching the end of its reign. So it had been going on for a while at this point. So
right. I mean, the shell shock, that was their trademark move, turned into the Wet Willy.
Yeah.
In the third movie, and that was a little disappointing to me.
Yeah.
It did have some good action on. Raphael goes. No, was it Raphael? No, who was it that went to the burning? Michelangelo went to the burning building.
Yep.
Went to the burning building, saved the kid, saved Yoshi, because every Japanese boy is named Yoshi.
And dinosaur. and dinosaur. Every little green dinosaur. Yep.
That's awesome.
But that was most of the action in that. And then like you said, the rest was slapsticky. They, Leo calls the bluff, says they're demons, but then he just ducks because he's a turtle. He can duck his head into his body. And Donatello hitting the bell.
All of the feudal Japanese warriors in New York with Casey Jones and
learning how to play hockey, where they really just fight each other the entire time.
So
it was just horrible. I'm just gonna say it.
No. Wait. The best thing, I'll tell you this right now. My favorite thing I think that came out of that movie was my love for the song "Tarzan Boy" by Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
That was definitely one of my favorite things to come out of that movie. I still love that song "Tarzan Boy" by Baltimore to this day because it was in that movie.
Sure. If that's the highlight of a movie,
good point.
I mean, it was just so bad. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even feel comfortable talking about it. I have very little memories of this movie, and there's a reason for it. I watched it once, and that was it.
I watched it quite a few times. I'll watch it right now. I'll turn it on right now and just watch it. You guys can talk about how bad it is. I'll be like, oh man, this really bad part just showed up, but I'm watching it anyway.
At least it had Casey Jones, played by Elias Koteas.
Sure.
At least he was back in it.
Too.
Yeah, I was about to say that. At least it had Corey Feldman as Donatello
and
again.
Corey Feldman, yep.
Which made perfect sense to me. Personally, I like the guy who voiced him in the second movie better. I thought he was a better Donatello than Corey Feldman was. This was when I was young and didn't even know who Corey Feldman was. I just liked his voice better in the second movie than I did in the first movie.
Yeah.
Nova, even though that was Corey Feldman.
And the last Ninja Turtle film that was created, that has been created, I should say, TMNT. It was the CG animated movie.
That wasn't the last one to be created. The last one.
Well, I guess if you want, a theatrical release. Let me specify correctly. 2007 came out, and Darby, you and I were actually living together at this time.
Yep.
And believe we went and saw it together.
Sounds like something we would have done.
Yeah, and it was. I thought it was great. I mean, it was. It definitely had that serious edge to it. That the Turtles, from their origins, kind of brought it back to that.
And then it still had enough comedy in it to actually make it fun for kids to watch.
Yes.
Like I said an hour and a half ago about how, you have the Ninja Turtles on the rooftop being awesome, and then Michelangelo comes out of nowhere and falls into a dumpster.
Right.
It had moments like that where it made you realize it was fun, but it could also be a serious movie as well.
Right.
That whole movie was phenomenal, and you're right. The comedy aspect of it, when Michelangelo was acting as a mascot or
Of himself.
of himself.
He was playing a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
For birthday parties.
And Donatello was his booking agent.
He was a booking agent, and wasn't he also tech support?
Yes, and tech support.
He
Tech
was
support.
the
Yep.
one who answered the phone when people called for Michelangelo.
Right.
Like that was his thing.
Yep. Oh, so good. There's that.
And it kind of it shows that. It shows the like Donatello Michelangelo relationship, but obviously the main focal point was Leo and Raph once again.
Right. Well, and at this point too, that's why I think they called it TMNT, because they're not teenagers anymore at this point. I mean, Leonardo's off in South America, right? For trying to find himself, and Raphael's out doing vigilante justice. I mean, he's doing his best impersonation of Batman.
We're the only ones with real jobs to actually hold down the fort and support everybody.
Right.
Donatello once again has to step up and support everyone.
Leo was he was on a self-enlightening mission that nobody else could handle. So
he was out there finding himself for sure.
And he did. He found himself.
He did.
Did he? I felt like he was kind of rushed a little bit. I'm sure he found himself plenty, but I don't know, because he was kind of rushed back by April.
Right. Well,
she always throws a wrench into.
Even from the original series, I mean, they had to save April at least once an episode,
right? She's not wearing
right?
the yellow jumpsuit anymore. That's fine.
Well, now she did put on the yellow motorcycle outfit.
That was like the Kill Bill outfit. I'll forgive that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
This wasn't like a jumpsuit thing. Yeah, from the 80s.
The other really cool thing I really liked from this, I guess I don't know if it's kind of an Easter egg if you're not paying attention, but at the end,
The very end.
yes,
Yep.
with the where you got all the artifacts from all the other movies.
All four of the movies. Yep.
So
They had the mask from the third movie, the TGRI can from the second movie.
Yep.
What was from the first movie, Ryan? Was it Shredder's helmet? It was Shredder's helmet from the first movie. Yep. They had them all at the end like that. That was and then Michelangelo ruins the moment by wanting to put a styrofoam head in the same places. Michelangelo, and he kills moments. That's what he does. But we love him for it.
Yep. So
to me, the best scene in that entire movie was the fight scene between Raph and Leo.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Obi-Wan and Anakin. Yep.
Called it.
It was
two brothers fighting against each other. The bad one, Raph, against the good one, Leo.
I'm just gonna pretend like you didn't say that. But even the
How is Raph not the bad one in that fight? How is Raph not the bad one?
Yeah, how are you going to pretend like you're not listening to that? Like, Raph was maliciously attacking Leonardo with full intention of harming him.
Hey.
Knowing it was Leonardo.
Right.
Leonardo started the fight not knowing it was Raph, but
Right.
knowing full well it was Leonardo. Raphael attacked him maliciously, like Alex just said.
You gotta defend
Raphael-
yourself.
Raphael
So-
was bad in that fight. He was.
And if Leonardo hadn't held back, or if he hadn't had faulty weaponry, which shouldn't happen, he would have won that fight. He was winning that fight.
No, I'm telling you. No, Alex, I'm telling you. And faulty weaponry aside, I fully believe in my heart and mind that Leo held back in that fight because the evidence is there. When he didn't know it was Raph, he just owned him. He owned him. He uppercutted him out of nowhere and took off his helmet. Good night, Dark Prince. He owned him. And then he saw it was Raph, and then he tried to lecture Raph and teach Raph to be a better turtle, and then he held back because it was his brother.
Yeah.
At
that point, Raph wasn't carrying the fact that he was his brother. He was so fed up with everything about him.
And I can understand that because I've had plenty of frustrations like that. I can totally understand where Raphael was coming from, but you cannot deny. I don't care if he's your favorite turtle, Ryan. You cannot deny that in that fight, Raph was the bad guy.
I think bad guy is probably not the right word.
There's no way to twist this, Ryan.
There's no Raphael. I mean, the colors are even there. Blue against red. Which one's the bad color? And which is the evil color? As a
Even in Star Wars, right?
It's a conflict of interest, okay? It's a conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest?
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on.
Conflict of interest.
Let's move on to a very quick brief brief discussion of the new Ninja Turtle movie. I don't even know if we should even dare touch this because we really can't spend all night on this. But this is this is the new movie that's going to be coming out. It's set for debut Christmas 2013. So there's definitely a lot of time. As we said, it's Michael Bay's production company, Platinum Dunes. They're going to be the ones that are heading the project, but there's definitely some. Everybody knows about the whole alien thing. We know that. But this is how I'm explaining it to people, because as soon as people hear that I'm a Ninja Turtle fan, they're like, "Oh, so what do you think about the new movie?" This is how I explain it. Nobody's ever seen the actual video.
Else.
Nobody's actually seen the video of Michael Bay. I have. It's out there on the web. It's not like I'm anything special, but you take the time to watch it. He's essentially up on stage. He's discussing projects, and he gets to the Ninja Turtles, and seems like he's just kind of trying to come up with adjectives when he's trying to describe the new movie that they're going to be working on. And yes, he says the word, like of an alien nature or something like that. And when he said that, that's what got everyone pissed off, right? So, when I think he just needs to be really careful about his words from now on when he's discussing this movie, and just be more careful, because obviously there's this huge. I mean, it was everywhere. Fans just coming out and saying, "You're ruining my childhood." It was all kind of good because it took
completely different than ruining, raping childhood.
Yes, it was taking some it was taking some heat off of
which you're fond of, by the way, and you are doing god-awful, unspeakable acts, which in any faith would pretty much send you to hell for doing to my childhood.
Yep. I mean, it was actually, maybe kind of good because it was taking some heat off of George Lucas for once, but what I do say though is that that's all there was at the time, and then he came out afterwards and was like, it was, just wait and see, there's more details to come and everything. But the reason I'm not worried about it yet is because Kevin Eastman is involved.
Kevin Eastman may be involved, but it's supposed to be a reboot of the entire franchise.
Right.
And like you said, Ryan,
but
TMNT, they're not teenagers anymore.
Right.
So obviously in this one they would be. So why would you get rid of the two aspects? Two of the three aspects.
Well, they can't call it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles anymore because there was already a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. I think they're just trying to avoid if it truly is going to be called Ninja Turtles, that makes sense to me in some aspect, because
to call it Ninja Turtles is fine, but don't come out and say that the Turtles are going to be sort of an alien nature instead of a mutagenic one.
Yeah.
All right? When you can name it whatever the heck you want. You can name it a bunch of turtles play hacky sack in the park for all I care. But when you come out and say an alien and not a mutagenic nature, you've just ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool. There'll be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles playing hacky sack in the park. Wait, they're aliens now.
I truly believe that he just couldn't think of the word mutant and could think of the word alien.
He's working.
I disagree. Those aren't even close.
I know they're not close.
The word mutant, but alien comes out. He meant alien. It will be alien. They will be from another planet. How they're going to introduce them, it should be interesting.
Yeah.
But
the planet TGRI. What, you guys don't know this?
The planet TGRI.
Or they don't have oceans swimming. They swim in a bunch of ooze. Come on, guys. Oh.
So I mean,
their spaceship. That's how it works. They land on Earth, they crash land, they fall in the sewers, and the ooze at the whatever. I swear to God, if that's how it turns out,
well,
I might.
Like I said, Eastman says he believes it's going to be awesome.
They could be like Transformers. It could be like a Transformer or alien race that the first thing they see is a turtle and they just turn into turtles. How about that?
Yeah, right.
It could be something like that.
Land his cars and turn into turtles.
Why not?
I'm pretty sure they made those toys too. Didn't they make toys? I'm sure they had Transformers in the Ninja Turtle toys.
I wouldn't doubt it. They had everything.
They probably weren't actual Transformers. They were probably.
I'm saying it was Hasbro that made them. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was probably some version of that, though. I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. They probably. I mean, didn't they have those toys? Well, I mean, they did have the toys where they remember the toys where they were actual little baby turtles, and then you could change them into the new ones.
Yep.
Probably the closest thing to it.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
So I mean, it's the same thing with the animated series. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
You can side with Eastman all you want. I'm gonna side with Robbie Riss when he says that Faye is sodomizing our childhood.
The voice of Michelangelo from the original movies. Yes.
Yes, who's actually as a big critic for what Michael Bay is doing.
Yeah. I guess I just want to wait and see. I don't want to jump the gun. And, I mean, if it is horrible, I'll call it out as being horrible, or a bad idea. I'll call it a bad idea, but I think I'm just going to wait and reserve my judgment.
The first 3 Star Wars movies are good. You're not going to call the Ninja Turtle movies.
I love the prequels. All right. Well, you know what? We are an hour and a half in, so I'm thinking we should probably stop here, and then we're gonna pick up.
Plenty of room to get out.
I think we'll pick up on the next episode.
Tangent where Darby goes off for 10 minutes. Yeah, we can get rid of that.
And pick up because we've
throughout this episode that Darby went out on a tangent.
I said what it was for editing.
Yeah, that'll be in the description. Darby goes on a tangent.
Yep. This will be the part you like, director's cut.
Well, we've got so much more to talk about. We've got merchandise, including toys, video games. We've got the coming out of their shells concert tour to talk about. I mean, come on, people.
Still have the tape and video and the VHS.
So we've just got so much more to talk about. And if we keep going tonight, I mean. Yeah, this is going to be a record length, so I think we'll call it a night tonight. But before we end the show, we do need to have our character spotlight. So I hope you picked one. Alex, let's start with you because you probably did some more preparation for this.
Ouch.
Ooh, probably right, but my character spotlight was one of my favorite villains, and it actually was Leatherhead.
There you go.
So Leatherhead. He was actually part of the original 87 series. He was created by Mirage Studios. Creator and artist was Ryan Brown. He was by far he could just compete with the Turtles, like. As far as strength goes, agility, he could never quite best them, but he was probably one of the closest to do so, aside from Shredder and Kraang, all your main villains. But he was really fun actually in the in this series. Can't remember exactly. I believe it was the comic book series. He was actually found by the Utroms, and he stayed with the Utroms and was exposed to a mutagen. That's how he became who he is now, which is kind of a fun fact there. But yeah, that is definitely my character spotlight.
His character, I mean, it was slightly different, but in the 2003 series, he was a scientist. actually, and I really enjoyed the change of character because he's from like New Orleans, the Bayou, in the original animated series, and then also in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Archie Adventures series.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the change of character. I really thought that it added a lot to his character. So good pick.
Yeah, he got really dark too. In Image Comics Volume 3, he actually, the way it started out, Leonardo found 2 children completely half-eaten in the sewers.
Wow.
And they started tracking down Leatherhead, and it was kind of fun to kind of go through that, and kind of brought in a couple other fun villains like King Komodo and Monitor Lizard and stuff like that. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Darby?
It's funny because we actually already touched on him a little bit tonight, because going on the Donatello aspect that I have, I actually was going to do Metalhead.
Oh.
And because, I just like the whole thing about how, Kraang created Metalhead, and he gives Metalhead the thoughts and like the personalities of all 4 of the Ninja Turtles, and thinks this is a great idea. Nothing could go wrong from this one. But so he has all the personalities of them. So obviously he has a mental disorder of all this. But I love that he starts off as an enemy, and then Donatello reprograms him to become an ally. But because of all the instability he has, Donatello has to deactivate him. And this is kind of what I don't like about it, is he becomes their maid. And that really bothered me, because he becomes their maid, and then I don't think you ever really see him again in the series. He had all this potential to be either a great ally or just a great secondary character, because he had all the personality of the Ninja Turtles. He could have gone off on his own and gotten into trouble, like Raphael always does. Or he could have been a party animal, or like Michelangelo, or he probably could have even helped Donatello out on some experiments or creating more machines. And if he had Leonardo's personality, then he would obviously have his fighting skill. But instead, they just decided to throw him away, and you don't see him anymore until Turtles in Time, where he's a boss at the end of the 2nd level, and he's the easiest boss fight in the game because you figure out his attack pattern pretty early, and he's pretty easy to defeat.
Right.
So for me, it was kind of a travesty that they made this character that had all this potential, and then they kind of just got rid of him for it in the end. That was my character spotlight.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, I've been tossing around some different ideas, but I guess the one I wanted to talk about was, and this I guess this is a go with me on this one, was, I don't know if you guys remember
the rabbit.
No, Usagi Yojimbo? No. We'll get to Usagi Yojimbo.
That was the first really weird character I could think of. Sorry.
Well, because he's got his own.
The gecko.
Scumbag was a pretty weird character too.
What about the gecko?
I am going to. Do you guys remember the Intergalactic Wrestling? I believe it was the Federation.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do remember the Intergalactic.
So,
they got, was it Leo or was it Michael? Who had to fight for them? Who was it?
Well, they all 4 of them fought.
Okay, all 4 of them.
Yes, but for me, what I thought was the coolest was Raphael in his all black outfit.
Yes.
And
I remember it all now. Oh, it's all coming back. It's all coming back now. Sorry,
what was interesting was that in the Ninja Turtles, the Adventures comics, is that after they had their wrestling matches, and I guess they came back. Gosh, this is coming back to me from so far away. He actually kept the pants on for a while, so he had no bandana. And just the black pants for a while, and I believe I'd have to dig it out of my collection, but there's a cover from the from the Adventures series, that they're all on top of a giant loggerhead turtle, and Raphael is in his black pants with no bandana, I think. So yeah, I know it's not a character per se, but it's more of a situation that they were in. But there was Cuddly the Cowlick. It was like the big cow.
Wasn't Leatherhead in on this too?
Yes.
Leatherhead made an appearance. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the wrestling champ was a duck.
Ace Duck.
Ace Duck.
Yeah.
Which
Ace
Duck.
Duck.
I think I still have that figure. I think I still have that figure because he was like in like a leather jacket, like a old pilot, and the big wings that you could like detach.
Yes, I had that one too.
Yep. So very cool, very cool. This is great. This is exactly what I wanted.
I'm so happy.
Out of bringing you guys on, thank you so much to both of you. Definitely looking forward to the next episode. In closing, to all the fans out there, all 2 or 3 of you that are listening when this goes live, probably not even that many. But hopefully you go back in the future and listen to this.
I'm pretty sure we're the only subscribers, but that's good.
I'm not even subscribed yet. I should probably do that.
You should probably do that. Check out the official website, TurtlePowerPodcast.com. Yes, I did lock it down. I have the URL. It is mine. You can also like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/TurtlePowerPodcast. Follow us on Twitter at TMNT Podcast, and then old-fashioned email at TurtlePowerPodcast@gmail.com. And that is going to be show number 2.
Booyakasha!
That's going to be the phrase of the show. Booyakasha!
So in closing, we've got the song of the show. Any requests, guys?
Pizza Power.
From the Pizza Power from the Coming Out of Their Shells tour?
Yes, that is my go-to song that gets stuck in my head when I have to sing something. Like, when I have to get one song out of my head, I put Pizza Power in its place. To this day, I still do it.
Pizza Power is going to be the song of the week then for you.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Turtle Power Podcast, Episode 2. For Darby and Alex, this is Ryan signing out.
Over.
Booyakasha.
Growing up in a glass bowl with camellias, lizards, and tadpoles, it hardly enters your mind that there's something better than this. A better sleep and a carrot, maybe a seed from the parrot. Believe me when I tell you the word tornadoes don't exist. But pizza power, a flying saucer through July. Pizza power, oh that's what makes us feel alright. Outside was all rearranged. And then it's to discover the kind of food that we like. It isn't burgers or french fries. To work with turtles or